Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to my channel, to my wonderland. It is coffee time together, and today I'm here to tell you all the things that I watched in the month of June.
It's coffee time.
Alright, so I have divided these in TV series or shows, regular movies, which is everything but horror, and then just horror. So let's start with the TV series that I have watched. And actually, in preparation for the FedCon, my idea was to watch season 1 and 2 from the Expanse. I only managed to watch season 1, but that is the first thing that I watched in the month of June. So The Expanse is an American television science fiction series, and it is based on the Expanse books by James S.A. Corey, and it is based in a futuristic world in which the humans have conquered the solar system, and we're following a bunch of totally different characters. We follow a council member, we follow a detective, we follow a the crew from a ship, and it's really interesting. It's very dark, it's very heavy with politics, and it does take off a little bit slow, and it takes a little bit to get used to the characters and to really connect with them. So I think this is a series more based for people that love slow burn science fiction, because like I said, it's kind of slow pace at the beginning, even though there are some really cool moments, and it kind of takes a bit to develop, and also getting used to the characters, because we're following so many characters at the same time at the beginning where you don't know them yet, so it's a little bit hard to relate to the characters at the very beginning, and it is very political. It did get a lot of awards, and actually I believe this was a sci-fi original, and then they canceled the series, and then Amazon bought it. So Amazon gave us, I think, season 4. I think it was canceled in Sci-Fi Channel after season 3, and then Amazon now has provided with season 4, or they're still in the making. I'm still, like I said, at the very beginning of the series. I've only watched season 1, but I think it's a series that I would like to still give a try and continue, also because I met the cast and they are all amazing, and it was a lot of fun to hear the thoughts on the characters and the series, so that kind of got me even more motivated to keep on watching it. Then I have a TV series that I don't expect you to think that I watch, but that is RuPaul's Drag Race. Now, I remember one of my friends watching it and telling me to watch it, and I checked on Netflix and they only had seasons 7 to 9 or something like that, so I watched those 3 seasons. I basically binge watched them because it was freaking addictive, and now Netflix has put all the previous seasons, so now they have from season 1 to 10 or something like that, and now I'm starting with the older ones, which is weird because having watched the first season that I watched, I think it was season 7, and now I'm back to season 1. So in the month of July I watched season 1 and 2, and it's basically sort of like a reality show in which RuPaul is looking for America's best drag queen. It's sort of, you know, the answer to America's supermodel or something like that, but it is so much fun, it is so creative, and I just love the drag queen's personality. They are just so unique, and it's a lot of fun to watch, honestly, and I love the challenges, but what I love the most is to see what they create to bring to the catwalk. And the last TV series that I watched was basically a rewatch. I rewatched season 1 and 2 from Stranger Things because, as you know guys, the 3rd season was coming, so I had to binge watch the other 2. And this is an American fiction horror series heavily based on the 80s, and it was written, created, and it's directed by the Duffer Brothers, and it is a Netflix exclusive, heavily based on the 80s and in Steven Spielberg, Stephen King, and all of these things that we love from the 80s, even though I still love Stephen King, like who doesn't. And basically in the first season we are in Hawkins, Indiana in 1983, and we're following a bunch of friends that like to play Dungeons and Dragons. They're just nerds, and one day Will Byers disappears, and nearly at the same time there is this really weird girl that appears that the boys find, called 11. They call her L for short, and she has telekinetic powers among other things, and it is a great season. It deals with secrets from the government, with another world called the Upside Down, and then in the second season we're following the same bunch of characters, but we are in 1984, and basically our kids are just trying to recover from what happened in the first series. And I don't want to tell you much because I don't know how many people have not watched season 1 and 2, which would be weird, but I have seen people in Twitter saying, oh, I'm gonna start watching Stranger Things now, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like, where have you been all this time? So I don't want to spoil it too much. So if you love, you know, shows that have to do with the 80s and some horrors, a little bit of sci-fi and secret government and children with powers and things like that, I would definitely recommend you to watch Stranger Things, and basically I recommend these to anybody. Let's go to movies, and I have another rewatch. So one day I was in the mood for watching something light-hearted and something, you know, that would put me in a good mood, and I decided to watch Love, Simon. This is a 2018 movie that it is based on the book Simon versus the Homo sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, that I also read last year and absolutely loved. And this movie is about Simon. He's a teenager, he's gay, but he's still in the closet, and he finds online somebody from his own school that is also a gay guy, and they start sending each other emails, but they don't know who the other is. So it deals with, you know, coming of age story together with coming out to your parents, to your friends, but it is such a beautiful story, and it's a story that had to be told, and I'm so glad they did this movie, and they did so much justice to the book. I know that Becky Albertalli was invited to set for a couple of days, so it's nice, you know, that they did involve the author as well during the movie. And if you're into these kind of stories, I totally recommend it to you. Then I watched SpiderMan Homecoming, another rewatch because of the new movie coming out. A lot of rewatches in the month of June, I'm just realizing. And this is a 2017 American superhero movie based on the Marvel Universe. It is the second movie from this new reboot from Spider-Man with Tom Holland, and it is the 16th movie from the MCU universe, and I absolutely loved it. I have to say I recently rewatched all the old Spider-Mans just because I didn't remember them so much, because I've never been a huge Spider-Man fan until Tom Holland came into the game. And in the movie Homecoming, we're following the events after actually Avengers, the movie from 2012, which it's interesting. So we are after the Battle of New York, where the Avengers left everything broken. So there is a company that is led by Toomes that is basically responsible for taking all the wreckage away, but then they discover some alien technology that can be used for creating weapons of mass destruction and all sorts of weapons. So of course the US government and Tony Stark get involved, and they kind of fire Toomes and they take over. But before they do, they manage to salvage a couple of those kind of capsules with the alien technology, and they are using these illegally to create weapons and sell them in the black market. And on the other hand, in this movie we have Peter Parker, who is kind of struggling because he feels a little bit useless after Tony Stark told him that he's still not ready for really joining the Avengers or really fighting, and so he's a little bit kind of, you know, sad about it. And I just love the whole character development that they built with this movie. And I still haven't seen Spider-Man Far From Home. I have been a little bit busy and sick as well, so I have not been able to get my ass to the cinema, but I really want to, because I'm really excited to see what they did in the second movie, because I think they did a great job with the first one, and I am so excited to see Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Like, I'm just like so excited. Let me know, you guys, down below in the comments, because I'll be interested to know which is your favorite Spider-Man so far, and which is your favorite Spider-Man movie. And now let's go to horror. So I am trying to catch up with horror because there are many horror movies that I have still not catch up to. I just keep buying horror movies, but I never have the time to watch them, so I'm trying to change that now. So let's talk about all the horror movies that I watched on the month of June. First, we have The Autopsy of Jane Doe from 2016. It's one of those movies that I always wanted to watch and I never did. I even have a Blu-ray, but I never watched it, and I finally did. And I absolutely loved it because it was different. It was kind of creepy and weird and disturbing, and I absolutely loved it. So the main story is this. We have a father and a son that work in a morgue. It's very creepy. The whole movie takes place in this morgue, which it's pretty cool in a way, but also, you know, helps with a low budget. And basically they receive last minute a corpse that they found digging up, I believe on the basement of a house or something like that. And basically, because it is an unidentified woman, they call her Jane Doe, which is the name they give to female corpses they cannot identify. So when they cut her open, they realize there's something supernatural going on because it's not normal what they see. And yeah, I don't want to tell you more about it because I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but I really did enjoy the atmosphere and the whole concept of the movie, and I thought it was kind of original and refreshing in that way, and definitely, you know, one of the most interesting movies that I have watched in the last months. Then we have It Follows from 2014, a supernatural American kind of psychological horror movie. And man, this is an example of a movie that I went into with high expectations because everybody told me that it was great, and I hated it. And I also have a Blu-ray copy of this movie because I bought it because I was like, hey, everybody's telling me it's great, it's gonna be great. No, I don't know what happened. It was just annoying. It was boring. I didn't like the concept of the movie. I think that was my big issue, and I just did not like it. I just didn't. I thought it was weird in the wrong way. So I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody, but I'm gonna tell you briefly how the story begins. So it's not really a major spoiler, but if you want to go into the movie with knowing zero, then just fast forward like 1 minute. It's basically following the story of this teenage girl that is dating this dude, and one day he seems to be seeing people that are not there or that he can only see, and one night he basically rapes this girl, so disclaimer alert for rape. And basically he tells her that now she's the one that's gonna start having the visions and that she needs to sleep with somebody else to pass this on. So yeah, that's the basic main story, and the whole movie was just stupid to me. I don't know, it was just not for me. So I was kind of shocked that I didn't love the movie. I was expecting maybe something totally different. I don't know, just let me know down below if you loved this movie, and if you did, why, because I don't know, for me it had nothing interesting. Then I have the Eloise Asylum, also just called Eloise, from 2017, and this is a supernatural American movie, and I got this one because Eliza Dushku is in it. That was basically my main reason, and it's because it's in an asylum. I'm a sucker for everything that has to do in a clinic or an asylum. I just love those kinds of stories, and so I actually ended up enjoying it more than I thought. It is not particularly the best movie you're ever gonna see, but if you like this kind of, you know, haunted old places like asylums and clinics and things like that, you're definitely gonna love this one. It's this guy that gets called because he's about to inherit something, but he needs to prove that his mom is dead because his mom is only accounted as missing, even though she's been missing for basically all this guy's life, which is at least 20 years. And I was under the impression, I don't know if it's only in Europe, but I was under the impression that if somebody's been missing for like 10 years, you can declare them dead legally. But anyway, this might be a plot hole, but anyways, so basically they tell him if he wants the inheritance, he needs to prove that his mom is actually dead, and so he investigates and goes to this asylum to try to find out more information, try to find a death certificate from his mom. And this is when it all starts, and he ends up in this asylum with a couple of people and investigating, and things, you know, go into the supernatural. So that's basically it. But like I said, I really enjoyed it. Not the best movie ever, but definitely one of those that could be a guilty pleasure of mine that I would like to rewatch. Then I watched Rim of the World, and I was not sure if I should put it into the horror, but I think it's kind of like sci-fi horror, and this is a Netflix movie that came out in 2019, and I was attracted to it because sci-fi horror and it's about kids. Count me up. So basically it is a story of 4 kids that come from totally different backgrounds, and they end up in the same summer camp. And one day, while they're wandering in the woods away from, you know, their summer camp, something goes down. Suddenly something happens in the skies, and they're like, what is going on? They go back to the camp, everybody's gone, and they realize it's the end of the world, as the title said. So basically they find themselves trying to fight these kind of evil entities, these kind of alien creatures, in order to rescue humanity. Humanity is in the hands of 4 little kids. But it is fun. I mean, if you like things, you know, like Stranger Things, The Goonies, and all of these kind of adventures with kids and apocalyptic kind of scenarios, you're definitely gonna love it. Then we have Pet, and this is one of those movies that surprised me. Like, I went into it thinking I might like it by what I have read in the synopsis, and I ended up loving it so much. It's one of those movies that you go into it without knowing much about it, and then it takes a totally different turn, and you're like, what the heck just happened here? And I absolutely loved it. It was also very disturbing and disgusting, so plus points for that. And it's basically following the story of this very introvert guy that works in a pet shelter, and he gets very obsessed about this blonde girl that he starts to follow, and he ends up basically trapping her in one of these big cages, as you can see in the cover of the movie. And it is a wild ride. I was like, I didn't even know what to expect anymore from the movie when things started to happen. So if you like movies that are not conventional at all, that are disturbing and totally shock you, I would recommend you to watch this one. Then I have what is probably going to be one of my favorite watches of this year, and that was I'm Not a Serial Killer from 2016. This is an Irish-British movie based on Dan Wells' book by the same name. And oh boy, I was so excited to watch this movie also because Christopher Lloyd is in it, and it just looked so good. You know what I mean? It's those movies that you check the cover and you check the trailer and you're like, oh, this looks like a great movie. So I went into it without much expectations, and I loved it so much. It was so unique, refreshing, amazing. I loved the dialogues, the acting was amazing. Christopher Lloyd was just like fantastic, and it is another movie that it's not exactly what you're expecting when you go into it. And I recommend this movie to anybody, and I'm happy that I bought the beautiful edition. Actually, I have it here somewhere. Hold on, it's here. I'm so happy I got this kind of media book. I love it because I love this movie so much, and definitely recommend it to all of you. If you already watched it, let me know down below what you thought about it, because it was just magic. You know, it's one of those movies that it's so special, it's so atmospheric, that it was just magic. Then I watched Annabelle 1, 2, and 3. So basically I wanted to rewatch Annabelle 1 and Annabelle Creation before going into Annabelle Comes Home. And oh boy, I have thoughts on Annabelle Comes Home. So basically, let me tell you, Annabelle, it's basically a character that comes from the Conjuring universe, and that as a spin-off got her own series of movies, and the first one being Annabelle, that came out I believe in 2014. And basically we're following the story of this doll that it's supposed to be cursed and a demon is attached to it, and it's not the doll itself that moves, you know, like other movies based on dolls like Robert the Doll or like Chucky. It's basically an entity that is using the doll as a vessel. For me, the first movie remains my favorite, but I do know that for most people, the second one, Annabelle Creation, it's their favorite. I can see in a way why. I did love the whole background story of the creation of the doll and why it became kind of like a vessel for evil spirits. And I just think that the Annabelle Creation movie had so much potential, and I don't think they used it as well as they could have. And in the first one, for me, I felt it was more creepy, more unsettling. There were more moments where you can see actually the evil spirit that is possessing the doll, and it creeped me out, and I absolutely loved it. And I just, for me, the first one still remains my favorite one, and the third one I was not a fan of. And I'm gonna make a separate review about it. Then let's quickly mention Child's Play. I did rewatch Child's Play from 1988, and then I went to watch Child's Play, the remake slash reboot from 2019. I'm also gonna make a separate video with a full review on Child's Play 2019. But yeah, I watched these two movies as well, and I think everybody by now knows what Child's Play is about. So let's move to the last movie, which is another one that kind of surprised me because I had zero expectations of this movie, and then I ended up really liking it, and that is Before Awake. This movie, also known as Somnia, came out in 2016, and it's kind of like a dark fantasy movie, horror, and I absolutely loved it. I went to the movie with zero expectations and ended up loving it because it had this vibe of Don't Be Afraid of the Dark or the Mama movie, and I absolutely love that aspect of it. Basically, we're following a young couple that tragically lost their son, and they are still grieving, but they do want to adopt, and so they visit this kid called Cody, and they decide to adopt him. They bring him home and everything looks fine. I mean, it's still sad because they are still grieving. They still have pictures of their deceased son in the house, and Cody notices things, and Cody has a very special gift. So when he dreams, he has these kind of projections, and he can make you see the people that they last saw, you know, in images. So he starts to bring their deceased son back while he sleeps, and the parents are able to see him, and this kind of creates a conflict between, you know, the parents, between like what's right and what's wrong. And also I'm protecting Cody because things start to get more into the nightmare kind of version of things, and that there is more darker things coming. And I absolutely love the progression of the movie. I love that it was like a beautiful dark fantasy, and the atmosphere was great, and like I said, it reminded me of other movies that I love, and definitely one that you go thinking it's just gonna be a regular B movie, but then you ended up really enjoying. Alright, so this is everything that I watched in the month of June. Let me know down below, as always, your thoughts on all the things that I have mentioned. What is the best movie that you've watched in June? Let me know down below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate your support. Please give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more coffee times with me. And also, if you want to follow me, I have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The links are also down below. And I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!